Morainn MacRailt hugged the sunset-coloured plaid, her latest creation, to her stomach as she stood looking out over the frozen expanse of Loch Assynt. The castle loomed behind her, but she was not ready to enter it. She had been putting it off all day, chiding herself for being a coward. It wasn't like her to avoid confrontation, but she was tired of fending off her would-be suitor. She missed the days when she could hide behind her mourning. No one had approached her about marrying again until her official mourning period had ended just a fortnight earlier. She let her gaze wander over the double-peaked expanse of snow-draped mountain on the opposite shore, then up to the scudding clouds retreating down the length of the glen. She hadn't always been a coward, but marriage hadn't turned out the way she had expected. They had both quickly seen their mistake, but 'twas too late when they discovered it. They were married, and there was nothing to undo that, until Hamish's early death one night while reaving the MacTavish's cows with the chief's sons. She should have felt a stab of pain at the thought of him, or at least guilt, but lately even that had faded to a small hollow ache that it was becoming all too easy to live with. Not that anyone else need know that. She had been mortified that her first reaction to the news had been relief. She had been sad. He had not deserved to die so young, but deep inside, where she would never let anyone see it, she had felt a door open. She had felt her true self pour forth again from where she had locked it away, trying to be a good wife. But she would never do that again. And she'd never marry again. She had thought herself in love with Hamish, but the flush of infatuation had quickly burned out, and she'd been left living with a man she did not particularly like, and one who no longer liked her overmuch either. For 3 years they had avoided each other as much as possible, speaking little. He had been miserable, and she blamed herself for that, but she had also been miserable. That, too, she blamed on herself. He was older than she was. He knew what he wanted in a wife. She was much younger and had been so lonely after the death of her mother and the emotional retreat of her father that the gratitude at the attention Hamish heaped on her had felt like love. What did she know of love? Nothing, it turned out. She let the calm and quiet of the winter landscape seep into her, fortify her. She drew the sharp-edged air into her lungs. Sick of her own cowardice, she faced the castle only to find herself being watched. Baltair, the clan's champion, stood between her and the castle. A slow smile spread across his ruddy face, pulling his narrow lips tight, and his crooked nose even further out of line than it usually was. The man really shouldn't smile. His eyes went to slits, and he looked almost as if he were grimacing. She'd like to grimace too, but she managed to stop at a frown. "Is there something you need?" she asked, clutching her bundle of plaid tightly to her like armor. The man was relentless, and she was tired of it. He didn't seem to understand her when she told him she was not looking for a husband. Why couldn't anybody understand that? One thing she was beginning to understand was that when Baltair got it into his wee little mind that he wanted something, say, her, he was just as unyielding and just as hard of hearing as the stone wall his chest resembled. "Why are you always in such a hurry to get away from me, Morainn?" he asked, his voice low, as if he spoke to a lover. She clamped down on the urge to kick him in the shin, or maybe higher. She satisfied herself with the thought, not the action, and cocked her head at him. "I have much to do. Do you not as well?" "Not so much that I cannot take time to woo my future bride." His nose shifted direction subtly with each word he spoke. His hair, so dark a brown 'twas almost black, writhed around his face in the breeze that was growing stronger and colder by the moment. "You used to have sweet words for Hamish. Do you not have a sweet word for me?"